Alrighty, this is the Starlight Pro Last Legend small review. I've been using this mouse for about 3 months or so, minus about a week or two in between because I had to RMA it. There was an issue with the left click, but I will get to that in a bit. Starting off with the build quality, there's no flexing, no creaking at all that I've experienced of, except for one little spot like right here. Every time you press right here, there's a bit of creaking, but like none that would like affect you in game at all. Yeah, it's overall really solid in hand and feels really nice. Yeah. So moving on to the left and right click, mouse 1 and mouse 2, if you will. Um, they both feel really nice after getting it RMA'd. The left click had an issue after 4 hours of having it. It felt just really heavy and just didn't feel nice to click at all. It didn't feel like stuck. It was just making a weird noise when you clicked back here. Basically, when you clicked right here, it was just very heavy. It didn't sound good. It just wasn't a nice experience. So I RMA'd it, contacted Vinyl Mouse, and I sent it back. It took them an hour to fix it. When it arrived at their headquarters, I got an email an hour later saying that we have shipped your mouse out. I was like, holy crap, that was quick. So I got it back. It was fixed completely. So yeah, W Final Mouse. They know how to fix a mouse. Wow. Moving on to the side buttons. They feel really nice. They're clicky. They feel great. There's pretty much no pre or post travel to report of. Yeah, pretty much none at all. They feel a lot better than, the Superlight. Superlight has a ton of pre-travel, a ton of post-travel, and just does not feel nearly as good to click. Moving on to the scroll wheel. Overall, it has good defined notches, has good steps. Sometimes it will get stuck in between a step and, freak out a little bit. But it's not very often that happens. And yeah, the dreaded tilted scroll wheel. Mine is tilted to the left. I can try and get it to show up and not be blurry. Right there. As you can see, it's bent to the left ever so slightly. I I guess that is Final being big brain and going like, ah yes, we always have bent to the right scroll wheels. Let's bend it the other way. Genius. But yeah, um, overall scroll feels really nice. Nothing I'm get RMA'd. I mean, it's barely bent. So the middle mouse button on this mouse is very hard to click sometimes. And compared to something like Superlight, it is very heavy. Sometimes when I was in game, I would struggle to click it sometimes. So if you do use it on a game that requires it like Apex, I would take a note of that. And I would say the Final Mouse scroll wheel is not as good as the Superlight scroll wheel, mainly because the notches are more defined and are a little bit louder, a bit heavier on Superlight, which I prefer a bit more than on the Starlight, because it just feels a bit more premium, and it doesn't get stuck in the middle. It doesn't feel like the notches get stuck. On the Starlight, it does feel like they get a bit stuck sometimes, and that does lead to the Superlight having an overall better scroll wheel feel. So moving on to the skates, we got the four corner design that they've had for years now. And yeah, they do feel really nice. They don't feel cheap at all. They feel really premium, judging how they are, I think, pure 100% PTFE feet, judging how they are all white. The only thing is that they're not rounded on the edges, which for me doesn't really matter. I didn't really notice a big difference between the Superlight, but these skates do feel quicker, but that could be because just the weight, this being 63, this being 42 to 44. Um, But yeah, these do feel really nice. There's no scratching on the Heian at all. Like, there's no problems. I haven't had any problems with them. I haven't seen a reason to replace them. I've heard that the core pads or BTL grips are better. I meant skates. I've heard they are better, but I don't see a reason to change. So until these get worn down or they wreck or anything of the sort, I'm gonna stick with the stock ones. Alright, so the shape. As you can see here, the hump is in the middle of the mouse. This makes it a really safe shape for any type of grip, fingertip, claw, palm, whatever you use, and if you have smaller hands, since this is the small Starlight. And it's pretty much perfect for my 17:9 hands because it is smaller lengthwise, which makes it a lot easier to grip and pretty much perfect for my hands. And the width did become a bit of a problem, so I just put the grips on. As you can see, I just put the grips on both sides. I just put the 2mm on, and that pretty much worked. The overall shape of the small Starlight is obviously a lot smaller, so it does cater to those with smaller hands when clawing or palm gripping. But if you do have bigger hands and are used to that stuff and used to smaller mice, then this won't be much of a problem, honestly. I don't see it being a big problem. But if you do have bigger hands and tend to relax claw or a palm gripper, this mouse will not work for you at all. It just won't work. You'd have to aggressive claw or fingertip grip it. And in that case, I would recommend the medium because it is a lot safer of a shape and because it is a lot closer in dimensions to the widely used mice like the G Pro Superlight and the Viper V2 Pro, which I have right here. It did take me a bit to get used to the small Starlight because of how big the G Pro is compared to the Starlight. And to me, it was mainly the weight. Or not, yeah, the weight and the length. Those were the two big factors that took a bit to get used to. But after about a month or so, I got completely used to it. Alrighty, so now to the one final, pun intended, question. Is this mouse worth it? You know, being 189 USD, 300 Canadian, it's definitely got a steep price, and honestly, I see the mouse market going towards that 179, 189, $200 price tag anyway. So this is going to be the mainstream price anyway. Eventually, probably in the next coming months, when we see a new Superlight drop, or who knows what the next big thing that drops from Logitech. But yeah, as of right now, if you have the money, I would say this is worth it. But we have seen Final Mouse QC. We have seen the problems that have arose in these mice. That is definitely something you cannot ignore. Even though mine was good, once I got it back and got it RMA'd, it was perfect. Like, this mouse is literally perfect. It's still kind of a gamble. Like, I remember when I first bought this mouse, I was sitting here like, I was genuinely worried that I could get it and there would be a QC issue and I would have to wait another 2 to 3 weeks before I could finally get some reps in on this mouse. So that's definitely a concern. We shouldn't, as a consumer, we shouldn't have to be sitting there like, oh my god, I just spent $189 and I'm worrying about QC. I'm worrying about my mouse is going to be broken when I get it. Luckily, that didn't happen, and from the other reviews I have seen, that hasn't been the case. I haven't seen any reviews where someone had a big problem on their mouse. So it has seemed Final Mouse have gotten better with developing the Starlight. And another thing that may make it not worth it anymore is that there's going to be no more drops of this Starlight. The last legend, hence the name, was the last drop of the Starlight. We're not going to see this anymore since they are moving back, or they're moving on to the Ultralight X, being 29 grams. Jeez, that's light. We'll see though if it's actually that light. But because if you remember, this mouse was supposed to be 37 grams. It ended up being 42 to 44. So yeah, that's another thing. Low lies. Final Mouse do lie sometimes. They've gotten a little bit better over time, but it's still a problem. It's still something that they do. And another thing is that, like I said, the last drop. You can only get this on eBay, StockX, or whatever you use, whatever third-party reseller you can get your hands on it. The prices are going to shoot up, and over the months, it is going to keep going up. And these are going to get rare, so it's going to be harder to get your hands on one. So honestly, if you have the money, I would recommend it. But I would say if you're patient, just wait for something else. Wait for Logitech to drop something, buy a Razer Viper V2 Pro, or you can look at the Ultralight X, because that's an option that you could consider, because I heard it has 4K hertz polling rate and is going to be light as hell, and it's made out of carbon fiber. I think that was the leak I saw. But yeah, we will see on that in June. But yeah, overall, it's a really good mouse if you get a good one and you get blessed by Final Mouse QC. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys at a later date. Goodbye.